Why do traders keep losing money again and again? No matter how many books they read, no matter how many strategies they test, no matter how many times they promise themselves that this time will be different. Why does the cycle of hope, excitement, fear, panic, and loss repeat itself until accounts are blown, dreams are crushed, and confidence is shattered? The answer is not lack of information. It is not lack of opportunity. It is not even lack of intelligence. The truth is traders lose because they have not learned discipline. They have not learned control. They have not built the mindset required to win in the markets consistently. Jesse Livermore, the legendary trader who lived more than a century ago, became both one of the richest and one of the most bankrupt men in Wall Street history. His story is not just about money. It is about the human mind, about greed, fear, patience, and discipline. Livermore made fortunes so large they shook the financial world, and yet he also lost everything more than once. What made the difference was not the market itself, but his ability, or inability, to control himself. He once said, "The game of speculation is the most uniformly fascinating game in the world. But it is not a game for the stupid, the mentally lazy, or the man of inferior emotional balance." That wisdom is timeless, and it speaks directly to every trader listening right now. You may be sitting at your screen waiting for the next setup. You may be chasing after indicators. You may be copying signals or strategies, but deep down, you know the truth: strategies do not save you. Rules do not protect you, unless you have the discipline to follow them, without hesitation, without emotion, without breaking the plan. So here is the promise: if you give me your attention, if you stay with me for the next 30 days, if you take this plan seriously, you will stop the endless bleeding of your account. You will break the cycle of emotional trading. You will finally step into the mindset of a professional. This is not about making millions overnight. This is about saving yourself from the slow death of inconsistency. Because once you master consistency, profits will follow automatically. Imagine this: what if the next 30 days could change your trading life forever? What if, in just 1 month, you could replace fear with confidence, confusion with clarity, and chaos with discipline? What if, instead of waking up every morning with regret, you woke up with a clear plan, a calm mind, and the ability to execute without hesitation? That is what this journey offers. This is not theory. This is not wishful thinking. This is built on the lessons of Livermore, on the psychology of legendary traders, on the mistakes that cost them millions, and the wisdom that allowed them to rise again. It is built on the painful truth that most traders refuse to face. But you are here, which means you are ready to face it. You are ready to stop being part of the 90% who lose and start walking the path of the 10% who win consistently. Over the next 30 days, you will learn to silence the noise. You will learn to stick to your rules no matter what the market throws at you. You will learn how to protect your profits with iron discipline. You will learn how to take a loss without losing your mind. You will learn how to think like a professional. Because in trading, discipline is freedom. The markets are not your enemy. Your own emotions are your enemy. Greed makes you hold too long. Fear makes you exit too early. Impatience makes you overtrade. Ego makes you ignore risk. Revenge makes you double down after a loss. All of these are the real reasons traders fail. Not because the market is unfair, not because brokers are hunting stops, but because they never trained their minds. But what if you could be different? What if you could make a promise to yourself right now, that for the next 30 days, you will commit to discipline? You will follow a plan. You will stop chasing noise. You will start thinking like Jesse Livermore did at his best, with patience, with courage, with clarity. This is your turning point. This is the moment you stop blaming the market and start mastering yourself. This is the moment you stop gambling and start trading. This is the moment you stop leaking money and start protecting it with discipline. So stay with me, because by the end of this video you will not only understand why traders lose, you will also know exactly how to build a 30-day action plan that will transform your habits, reshape your mindset, and finally put you in control of your trading destiny. The question is, are you ready to give yourself these 30 days? Are you ready to trade with discipline? Are you ready to stop the bleeding once and for all? Because your trading life is waiting on the other side of this decision. And the choice is yours, right now. Today, every trader who has blood money in the market knows the pain of watching a small mistake snowball into a catastrophe, of promising themselves they'll do better tomorrow, and then falling into the same trap again. But what if the cycle could be broken? What if the next 7 days could strip away the illusions, the lies, the destructive impulses, and leave you standing in front of the truth? Clear, unshakable, discipline. This week is not about learning a setup or memorizing an indicator. This week is about rewiring the way you think, feel, and act in the market. And it begins with the most uncomfortable but liberating shift of all. The very first step is awareness. You cannot master what you refuse to see. From today, you track every mistake. Not some mistakes, not just the big ones. Every single one. You write down the losing trades. You record the exact moment you broke your rules. You describe the emotion that drove you to click buy or sell. You confess to the impulse that whispered in your ear. And when you do this, the patterns will emerge. Maybe you keep chasing when you feel like you're being left behind. Maybe you average down because hope blinds you to reality. Maybe you freeze when you should act, or panic when you should be still. The page does not lie. The journal is a mirror, and once you begin to see those patterns in ink, you can no longer escape them. The enemy has been revealed, and it is not the market. It is you. That is the awareness shift. It hurts, but it heals. It is the doorway to change. And once the doorway opens, the next lesson must rush in. For too long you have treated the market like a living thing, as if it knows you, as if it has moods toward you. When you win, you feel chosen. When you lose, you feel hunted. But the truth, the liberating truth, is that the market is not your friend and it is not your enemy. It simply is. The market does not care about you. It does not know your name. It does not even notice your presence. It is a force, like gravity or the ocean. And the moment you stop giving it human qualities, the moment you stop begging it for mercy or cursing it for betrayal, you are free. Because now you understand. The only thing that matters is how you respond. The market is neutral. It is merciless and generous all at once because it reflects nothing but your own discipline or your own recklessness. Accepting that neutrality is like cutting chains from your ankles. You stop revenge trading because there is nothing to avenge. You stop hoping for kindness because there is no kindness to expect. You stop fighting shadows. You start facing yourself. And once you see clearly, another poisonous habit must be confronted: the cost of hope. Hope has killed more trading accounts than fear ever has. It whispers to you as the red candles stack lower and lower. Hold on, it will turn around. Just give it time. And so you average down, adding to the losing position, convincing yourself that you are being brave, that you are being smart. But you are not. You are bleeding. You are clinging to a fantasy that the market will reverse just to spare you pain. And the market does not care. Hope is not a strategy. Every tick against you is a cut into your capital. Every second you refuse to close is a second you dig your grave deeper. Discipline is not in holding on. It is in letting go. You cut losses quickly. You refuse to average down. You accept the pain now so it does not grow into devastation later. The cost of hope is everything, and the refusal to pay that cost is the difference between survival and destruction. Once you kill that false hope, the next step is humility. You do not need to risk everything to learn. You do not need to swing for the fences to prove yourself. You start small. Tiny positions, micro lots, paper trades if necessary. You are not here this week to get rich. You are here to reset, to build muscles of discipline without the weight of crushing risk. Every oversized position is a temptation, a spark for panic, a test you are not ready to pass. But when the stakes are small, when the size is nothing to fear, you free yourself to practice. You free yourself to experiment, to follow rules, to build consistency. Ego will tell you that small trades don't matter, but ego is lying. These are the most important trades of your life, because they are rebuilding the foundation you will stand on. Small stakes are the gym. They train your mind to obey before your money is truly on the line. And as you trade small, you must guard something even more precious than your capital, your emotional capital. The market does not only drain your account, it drains your energy, your focus, your confidence. If you waste all of that on revenge trades, on reckless decisions, on endless emotional spirals, you will be exhausted long before your account is empty. That is why you journal not only your trades but your emotions. You write down the fear you felt, the anger that pushed you, the boredom that lured you. You see it in black and white, and you begin to separate yourself from it, because you are not your emotions. You are the one who observes them. And when you learn to protect that emotional capital, you find you can survive longer, think clearer, and act sharper. The trader who guards their mind guards their future. Now comes the rule that separates the disciplined from the desperate. The rule of patience. Every fiber in your body will scream at you to trade. The charts will flash. The news will tempt. Other traders will boast. But you must learn the rarest skill in this game, the ability to do nothing. No trade is better than a bad trade. Inaction is action when it saves you from disaster. Patience is not weakness, it is strength. Because while others bleed from chasing every candle, you wait, still, calm, ready. And when the right setup finally comes, you will be sharp, rested, prepared. The patient trader looks slow but wins fast. The impatient trader looks busy but dies broke. And finally, the seventh day arrives, The moment to step back and look at the week behind you. You review every trade, every mistake, every emotion. You identify the triggers that led you astray. You highlight the moments where you won not because of luck but because of discipline. You see the patterns forming, the old you fading, the new you emerging. This is not about judging yourself with shame or pride. This is about clarity. You reset, you prepare, you acknowledge progress, and you set intention for the days to come. The weekly review is not optional, it is sacred. Because a trader who does not review is doomed to repeat. But a trader who reviews learns to evolve. And so the first week ends, but something far greater begins. You are no longer trading blindly. You are no longer fighting illusions. You are aware of yourself, accepting of the market, ruthless against false hope, humble in size, protective of emotions, patient in execution, and reflective in review. You have broken habits that have cost you everything and replaced them with disciplines that can one day give you freedom. This is the foundation. This is the reset. And if you hold it, nurture it, and strengthen it, the next weeks will transform you into something very few ever become. A trader who finally has control. In trading, the enemy is not only the market. The enemy is not even primarily your emotions. The true enemy, the silent killer that creeps into accounts and destroys dreams, is unmanaged risk. You can survive bad calls. You can survive losing streaks. But you cannot survive reckless risk. The trader who treats risk as optional is already dead. They just don't know it yet. And that is why this second week, these next 7 days, will be the most important training of your trading life. Week 1 tore away illusions and began to rebuild your mindset. But week 2 will teach you the difference between life and death in this game. This is where you stop gambling and start surviving. This is where you master risk. The first law of risk is simple, clear, and unbreakable. Never risk more than 1% of your account on a single trade. 1%. That is the boundary between discipline and destruction. Because when you break this rule, you invite ruin. With 1% risk, you can endure a losing streak of 50 trades and still be standing. With 5% risk, you could be blown out in 20. With 10% risk, just 10 losing trades in a row and your account is gone. The math does not lie. Risk small, survive long. The trader who protects capital gives themselves the time to improve, to adapt, to learn. The trader who ignores this law burns fast and dies quickly. Jesse Livermore himself lived and died by this understanding. Capital is your lifeline, and every trade is an attack on that lifeline. You never ever risk more than 1%, not because it feels good, not because it is easy, but because survival demands it. And from there we move into one of the most powerful lessons Livermore ever left behind, the one-point stop rule. He understood something most traders ignore even today. The moment a trade moves against you by a small margin, the odds of recovery shrink dramatically. Hope takes over, excuses begin, and soon you are trapped in a position that is eating your soul. Livermore's discipline was brutal but brilliant. 1 point against him and he was gone. No hesitation, no hope, no debate. Because he knew that the first loss is always the smallest, and the courage to take that small loss is what saves you from catastrophe. The weak trader holds and prays. The strong trader cuts and moves on. Every time you honor this principle, you remind yourself that trading is not about being right, it is about staying alive. The 1-point stop is not a suggestion, it is survival. But survival is not only threatened by large losses, it is equally destroyed by emotional ones. Revenge trading is the poison that follows every painful hit. You lose money, and instead of accepting it, you tilt. You double down. You take reckless trades just to make back what was taken, and in doing so you hand over even more. Tilt is not about strategy, it is about ego. You are not trying to win, you are trying to get even, and that is the surest path to ruin. You must learn to recognize tilt instantly. Feel the anger rising, feel the pulse quicken, hear the voice screaming to get it back, and then stop. Step away, close the screen, breathe, because once revenge enters your trades, discipline leaves. And when discipline leaves, destruction arrives. The only way to stop revenge trading is to starve it. You starve it with awareness. You starve it with breaks. You starve it by refusing to answer its call. The market owes you nothing, and trying to collect a debt that doesn't exist will cost you everything. This is why the foundation of risk is always preservation first. Growth comes later. Too many traders dream of doubling their account overnight, of turning small sums into fortunes, but that hunger for rapid growth blinds them to the truth. If you cannot preserve capital, you will never have capital to grow. Survival is step 1, longevity is step 2, wealth is step 3. Skip the order and you will never see step 3. You build a fortress around your capital first. You protect it with discipline, with risk limits, with brutal stops, with small positions. Only when you have survived long enough to be consistent, only when your account is stable and protected, do you begin to think of growth? Until then, preservation is the only goal. Because capital preserved today becomes opportunity tomorrow. And even as you preserve, you must build a safety net. Every wise trader knows that markets can turn on a dime, that black swans exist, that chaos does not announce its arrival. That is why you always keep cash aside. Not every dollar belongs in the market. Not every opportunity must be chased with full firepower. A portion must remain untouched, a reserve, a cushion. Because when disaster strikes, that safety net keeps you alive. It keeps you from desperation. It keeps you steady while others panic. Without a safety net, one bad week can erase years of progress. With a safety net, you endure, regroup, and return. It is not weakness to hold back capital. It is wisdom. The safety net is not a sign of fear. It is a sign of strength. But there is another silent killer, just as dangerous as oversized risk or revenge, overtrading. Traders think activity equals progress. They think more trades mean more chances to win. But in truth, overtrading is slow suicide. Every unnecessary trade drains focus, drains energy, drains capital. The market rewards quality, not quantity. One good trade can make your week. 10 bad trades can destroy your month. Discipline means waiting. Discipline means choosing. Discipline means ignoring the noise until the signal is clear. Overtrading is a disease of the restless mind. The cure is patience. The cure is selectivity. You do not win by doing more, you win by doing less better. And at the end of this second week, you must stop and look back, not just at your trades but at your risk. This is the weekly review and risk audit. You examine every place where you broke the 1% rule. You highlight every time you ignored the stop. You confess to every revenge trade, every oversized position, every desperate grab. You also honor the times you were disciplined, the times you preserved, the times you waited. The audit is not about punishment, it is about clarity. Because what you refuse to measure, you cannot master. And risk is the one thing you must master above all else. Without it, nothing else matters. With it, everything else becomes possible. So week 2 ends with a deeper truth carved into your mind. Trading is not about profit, it is about survival. The profits belong to those who are still standing when others have been destroyed. The discipline to risk small, to cut fast, to avoid tilt, to preserve first, to build a cushion, to resist overtrading, and to review relentlessly. That is the discipline that makes survival possible. And survival is the key that unlocks growth. Master risk and you master the game. Ignore it and the game will master you. In trading, survival is never enough. Survival is the first wall you must build. But if you stay there too long, you will never advance. The trader who only survives is like a soldier who never leaves the trench, safe, but stagnant. To truly win, you must step out. You must attack. But attack without order is suicide. Aggression without structure is chaos. And chaos is the hidden destroyer of every trading account. The market already thrives on chaos. It is volatility, uncertainty, randomness. If you bring your own chaos into it, you double the fire. But if you bring discipline, if you bring structure, then the chaos becomes powerless. Week 3 is where survival turns into structure, and where structure becomes power. The enemy now is not risk alone. The enemy is disorder. And the cure is strategy and discipline. The first truth you must carve into your mind this week is simple: you cannot have 10 edges. You cannot have 5 setups. You cannot juggle 1,000 strategies like a circus clown and expect to walk away with steady profits. The great lie of modern trading is abundance. Everywhere you look, a new system, a new indicator, a new, foolproof entry. Twitter shouts about breakouts. YouTube screams about scalping. Discord groups whisper about hidden signals. You are drowning in options. But the more you chase, the less you own. A trader with 10 strategies is not 10 times stronger. He is 10 times weaker, because each strategy demands a different mindset, a different rhythm, a different discipline. Spread thin across them all, you become good at none. And in this game, good is useless. Only mastery survives. That is why the command for this week begins with clarity. Define your setup. 1, not 3, not 5, 1. One clear edge you understand, you believe in, you can execute without hesitation. It may be a simple support and resistance bounce. It may be a moving average crossover. It may be a breakout from consolidation. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that you cut away the noise of everything else and declare, "This is my weapon." Because a trader with one weapon is dangerous. He sharpens it. He knows its weight, its balance, its strengths and weaknesses. He learns when it cuts deepest and when it should be sheathed. A trader with one weapon becomes lethal. A trader juggling weapons drops them all when the battle heats up. Clarity of setup is the first discipline. But clarity means nothing without patience. This is where most traders bleed out, not because they cannot find levels, not because they do not understand charts, but because they cannot wait. The impulse to chase is wired into human nature. See the market moving, Feel the fear of missing out, jump in. This is the poison that kills thousands of accounts. Every chase is an admission of weakness. Every chase is you confessing that the market controls you, not the other way around. The disciplined trader does not chase, he sets his level. He defines the price where his edge exists, and then he waits. If the market never comes, he takes no trade, no regret, no FOMO, because he knows that the market will be here tomorrow, and the day after that, and for the rest of his life. But his capital will not be, if he throws it at every flicker of movement. Entry discipline is the art of silence. The art of waiting in the shadows until the prey walks into your trap. The amateur runs screaming into the forest. The master waits, still, calm, patient. And yet patience is only half the war. Because every trade has two edges, the entry and the exit. The entry is your opening strike. The exit is your survival. Without exit discipline, all your patience is wasted. The weak trader enters and then prays. He has no plan, no target, no stop. He lets the market decide whether he lives or dies. But the market is merciless. It will cut him down without hesitation. The strong trader defines everything before he enters. Stop, loss written, target defined, risk reward clear, and then he executes with military precision. No moving the stop lower, no stretching the target higher out of greed, no sudden panic exit because a candle looks scary. Discipline means honoring your plan even when your emotions scream otherwise. Discipline means letting probability work, not ego. Because every time you break your stop, every time you snatch a profit too early, you are telling the market you cannot be trusted with success. The market does not reward the untrustworthy, it bleeds them. Noise is the devil's whisper in the ears of traders. News headlines, economic calendars, Twitter rumors, analyst predictions, 99% of it is irrelevant, but still it lures traders like moths to flame. Why? Because it feels important. It feels like if you just knew the news, you'd have an edge. But in reality, by the time you read it, it's already priced in. The professionals are 10 steps ahead, and you are chasing shadows. The more you react to news hype, the more you turn from trader into gambler. Discipline means building a wall around your mind. It means shutting out the chatter and focusing only on your plan. Ignore the scream of CNBC, the panic of Twitter, the endless noise of gurus predicting collapse or boom. The market does not care about their words. The market cares only about order flow, about buying and selling, about supply and demand. Noise is chaos. Discipline is silence. Every time you ignore the news and stick to your setup, you strengthen the walls of your fortress. Every time you react to noise, you hammer cracks into that wall, and once the cracks widen, chaos pours in. But discipline is not only about silence, it is also about aggression, calculated, precise aggression. And here, the lesson of Jesse Livermore strikes again like lightning across time. His rule was brutal, simple, devastating in its power: add only when you are winning. Never average down. Never throw more money into a losing trade. The loser clings to hope and piles in deeper as the market moves against him, thinking he will bring his entry back to safety. But hope is not a strategy, and the market does not negotiate with your ego. The disciplined trader does the opposite. He adds only to strength. He pyramids only into profits. Because momentum is a river. When it flows in your favor, you ride it harder. When it flows against you, you get out. Livermore's pyramiding rule is the line between magnified victory and multiplied defeat. Every time you add to a winner, you sharpen the spear. Every time you add to a loser, you build your own coffin. And yet even this rule, even this brilliance, demands restraint. Because the temptation will always whisper, trade more trades, more action, more wins. But the truth is the opposite. More trades do not mean more wins. More trades mean more mistakes, more noise, more chaos. The strongest traders know this secret: trade less, win more. Every unnecessary trade is a leak in your account. Every forced entry is a thief stealing your future profits. Discipline means choosing your battles. It means sitting through hours, days, even weeks of nothing, if nothing matches your setup. It means knowing that one trade executed with precision can pay for the entire week, while 10 sloppy trades can erase a month. The undisciplined crave in trading. Chaos is the default state. The charts move like storms. Prices spike, collapse, dance, and drift with no mercy and no explanation. The market has no obligation to be orderly. It is not here to make sense. It is here to test whether you can impose order on yourself when surrounded by disorder. That is why this third week is not about risk, not about raw survival, but about structure, about strategy, about discipline. Because survival without structure is just drifting. You can stay afloat for a while, but without direction you go nowhere. Week 3 is about building that direction. It is about execution without chaos. The first truth you must carve into your bones is this: you do not need 10 edges. You do not need 20 strategies. You do not need to be the master of every indicator, every candle, every pattern that floods your screen. You need one One clear edge, defined, repeatable, and sharp as a blade. The trader who tries to trade everything ends up trading nothing well. The trader who defines a single setup, a single point of attack, carves away the noise and creates clarity. That setup is not just a technical pattern. It is your anchor. When the seas of volatility pull you in every direction, your defined setup keeps you tethered. You see it, you act. You don't see it, you wait. That is the beginning of discipline, knowing exactly what belongs to you and ignoring everything else. But defining your setup is not about memorizing a picture on a chart. It is about understanding the conditions that make it work. What market context must exist? What volatility environment? What volume behavior? What price reaction? Your edge is a living thing, and to master it you must dissect it until you know every bone and muscle. Once you do, you no longer chase shadows. You are no longer seduced by every flicker of movement. You are a hunter waiting for your prey, and hunters do not fire at every sound in the forest. They wait for the one shot that matters. That is your setup. That is your weapon. And yet, even the best setup is useless without entry discipline. The greatest poison of traders is impatience, the temptation to chase, the fear of missing out when the candle moves before you are ready. But chasing is not trading. Chasing is begging. It is running after the market like a desperate lover begging not to be left behind. The market does not reward beggars. The market punishes them with slippage, with poor entries, with instant regret. Entry discipline means one thing: you do not act until your level comes. You do not cheat your rules. You do not move your line forward because you are afraid it will leave you. You hold the line, and if it leaves without you, you smile, you nod, you let it go. Because you would rather miss a bus than get on the wrong one that takes you into a crash. The moment you learn to wait, truly wait, you discover power. You realize that trading is not about constant action. It is about selective action. The undisciplined trader throws darts in the dark. The disciplined trader waits for the lights to turn on before throwing one, and it sticks. Every entry you take without chasing reinforces your strength. Every entry you avoid because it did not meet your level is a victory of patience. And patience in trading is more valuable than prediction. Because prediction feeds your ego, but patience feeds your account. Yet entry discipline is only half the battle. A disciplined entry without a disciplined exit is still chaos. The exit is where traders bleed, where emotions explode, where hesitation costs fortunes. This is where greed whispers, hold a little longer, where fear screams, get out now. But the disciplined trader does not listen to either. The disciplined trader listens to the plan. Before the entry, the stop is set, the target is defined, the path is locked in, and once you are in the trade, your only job is to follow that script, not rewrite it in the heat of the moment, not redraw your lines because you feel it will turn. Feelings are death, plans are life. The stop loss is not your enemy, it is your shield. Every time it triggers, it saves you from greater harm. Every time you honor it, you prove that you value survival more than ego, and the target is not your prison, it is your payday. The weak trader cuts winners short because they are afraid of losing the gain. The disciplined trader waits until the target is reached because they trust the process. And when the process proves wrong, the stop takes over. In this dance, there is no chaos. There is only clarity. Enter at your level, exit at your plan. Anything else is gambling. Anything else is chaos. But chaos has many faces, not just bad entries and sloppy exits. Chaos is also the noise of the world. The endless stream of news, headlines, social media hype, and rumors that flood your mind with urgency. Breaking news. Fed speaks. Inflation spike. Oil crashes. The weak trader reacts to every headline, as if the market owes them clarity through media. But by the time you read the news, the market has already moved. The professionals who mattered acted long before the headline was written. If you trade the news, you are late by definition. And worse, you are distracted from your plan. Noise is the killer of focus. It convinces you that the story matters more than the chart. But the chart is the truth. The price is the only reality. Noise is entertainment, not signal. The disciplined trader learns to silence it, to turn off the channels, close the feeds, and look only at what matters: their setup, their plan, their rules. Every headline you ignore is a victory. Every hype you resist makes you stronger. Because the more you feed on noise, the less you hear your own discipline. And trading is not about knowing the story. It is about executing the plan. This brings us to one of the greatest rules ever spoken in trading history, the Livermore pyramiding rule. Jesse Livermore understood that trading is war, and in war you do not reinforce losing battles. You reinforce winning ones. You do not add to your losers and dig the hole deeper. You add only when you are already winning. This is the essence of pyramiding: strength on strength. A position moves in your favor, confirms your edge, and opens the door for more. That is when you press. Not at the start, not when you are uncertain, not when you are bleeding. Only when you have proof. The weak trader averages down, throwing good money after bad. They tell themselves they are improving their entry. In truth, they are feeding their ego, refusing to admit they were wrong. The disciplined trader does the opposite. They average up. They press when the market has already paid them. They build when the foundation is solid. And even then, they do so carefully, with control, with clear stops for every layer. Livermore's rule is brutal but brilliant: never add to a loser. Only add when you are winning. Anything else is suicide dressed as strategy. But discipline is not only about pressing winners, it is also about restraint. One of the hardest truths in trading is that fewer trades can mean more profit. The world seduces you into thinking more trades equal more opportunity. But the reality is simple: more trades equal more risk, more slippage, more mistakes. One clean, well-executed trade can make your day. 10 sloppy trades can ruin your month. The market does not reward effort, it rewards precision. The trader who trades less but with clarity wins more than the trader who is always in the market chasing scraps. This is the discipline of selection. The discipline to say no 9 times so you can say yes once with conviction. To spend more time waiting than trading. To understand that boredom is not a signal and action is not progress. The undisciplined trader thinks they are being productive by clicking buttons. The disciplined trader knows they are being productive by sitting on their hands until the setup appears. Trade less. Win more. That is not just a saying, it is the reality of professionals, and at the end of this week, just as you did with risk, you must stop and look back. Review not only your trades but your structure. Did you define your setup clearly, or did you chase shadows? Did you enter only at your level, or did impatience drag you into bad prices? Did you respect your stops and targets, or did emotions rewrite your plan? Did you block out the noise, or did you let headlines dictate your actions? Did you pyramid winners only, or did you foolishly add to losers? Did you trade less with precision, or did you drown yourself in overtrading? This review is your mirror. It shows you whether you lived this week with structure, or whether you let chaos back in. There is no shame in failure if you see it clearly. The only shame is refusing to look. Every flaw you identify is a chance to refine. Every discipline you honored is proof of progress. The weekly review is not the end. It is the sharpening of the blade for the next battle. Because trading is not mastered in a week or a month or even a year. It is mastered in the endless cycle of structure, execution, review, and refinement. That cycle is the heartbeat of discipline. And when you complete this week, you will feel a shift. You will see that trading is no longer random, that you are no longer reacting like a leaf in the wind. You are executing with intention. You are structuring your chaos. You are turning the storm into a system. And that, more than any single trade, more than any single profit, is the mark of a trader becoming professional. Strategy and discipline are not glamorous. They are not exciting. They are steady, repetitive, even boring. But in that boredom lies freedom. In that discipline lies mastery. And in that mastery lies the consistency you have been chasing all along. Consistency is not born in the moment of action. It is born before the first click, before the first candle, before the market even opens. The trader who thinks consistency comes from luck, from instinct, from feeling the market, will forever remain a gambler. True consistency begins with ritual. It begins with preparation so deep, so structured, that when the storm of price erupts you are already steady. This is why every day must begin with order, not chaos. A morning ritual is not optional. It is your foundation. When you wake, you are not just a person. You are a trader preparing for battle. And a warrior does not enter war without sharpening his sword. Review your plan. Review your edge. Visualize the day before it unfolds. Picture the setups you will take. Picture the discipline you will enforce. Picture the patience you will hold. Do not wake up and stumble into the market half blind. Enter with your mind already clear. The morning ritual is not about predicting what will happen. It is about preparing who you will be no matter what happens. You write your key levels. You scan your watch list. You review yesterday's lessons. You breathe. You center yourself. Some traders meditate, some visualize, some simply sit in silence. The form does not matter, the consistency does. Because without ritual, you fall into randomness. And randomness is the enemy of trading. But consistency is not built only in the morning. It is carved at night as well. The day does not end when the market closes. The true trader does not simply walk away. The true trader journals. Because memory lies, emotions distort, and hindsight edits the truth. But the journal records it all. Every trade, every thought, every hesitation, every mistake. Not to shame yourself, but to expose yourself. The journal is your mirror. It shows you what you would rather ignore. It reveals the excuses you told yourself in real time. and it forces you to confront them without denial. Some traders avoid journaling because it hurts. It hurts to see the truth of your behavior written in black and white. But that pain is the fuel of progress. The trader who journals grows. The trader who refuses journals repeats. Every evening, you sit with your trades. You ask yourself, did I follow my setup? Did I honor my entry rules? Did I respect my stop? Did I let noise distract me? Did I overtrade? Did I press my winners correctly? And beyond the mechanics, what did I feel? Where did fear whisper? Where did greed shout? Where did boredom nudge me into mistakes? You write it all. Because only what is written can be refined. And then comes the rule that separates professionals from amateurs, the no excuses rule. In life, excuses are currency. People trade them to protect their egos. The news was unexpected. The broker slipped. The market was manipulated. All true perhaps, but irrelevant, because excuses protect your pride while destroying your progress. The professional trader owns everything, every mistake, every hesitation, every reckless click, every failure to prepare. You may not control the market, but you control yourself. And if you fail to control yourself, that is your responsibility. The no excuses rule is brutal, but it is the root of growth. The trader who owns nothing learns nothing. The trader who owns everything improves everything. There will be days when the market is irrational, days when the best setup fails, days when you do everything right and still lose. These are not excuses. These are part of the game. The no excuses rule does not mean you blame yourself for the uncontrollable. It means you take ownership of your controllable, your preparation, your patience, your discipline. If you lose while doing everything right, you smile and you record it. Because that is trading. But if you lose because you broke your rules, because you chased, because you hesitated, you do not blame the market. You blame yourself. And in that ownership lies the power to change. And yet, sometimes the greatest discipline is not in action but in inaction. The amateur feels compelled to trade every day. They fear missing out, fear wasting time, fear sitting idle. But the best traders know that sometimes the greatest trade is none. The power of sitting out is the power of restraint. When the market is unclear, when your edge is absent, when chaos reigns, you do not enter. You sit, you watch. You let others bleed while you preserve your capital. Sitting out is not weakness, it is strength. It is the confidence to say, I do not need to be in the market today. It is the maturity to understand that your job is not to trade. Your job is to execute your edge. And if your edge does not appear, your job is to wait. This is where gamblers and traders diverge. The gambler needs action. The trader needs clarity. Every day you sit out when your rules tell you to, you sharpen your discipline. You tell your brain, I am in control, not my impulses. And that control is the essence of consistency. But how do you build unshakable confidence in your rules? Not by reading them, not by memorizing them, but by repetition. Confidence is not theory. Confidence is experience repeated until doubt dies. The first time you follow your stop, it feels painful. The 10th time, it feels normal. The 100th time, it feels automatic. The first time you wait for your level, it feels like agony. The 10th time, it feels like strength. The 100th time, it feels like second nature. This is how confidence is born, not from belief, but from behavior repeated until it becomes identity. The weak trader looks for motivation. The strong trader builds habits, and habits are built by repetition. Every rule you repeat ingrains itself deeper into your nervous system. Until one day you no longer debate whether to chase. You simply don't. You no longer debate whether to honor your stop. You simply do. This is the moment when discipline transforms into confidence. Not because you tell yourself you are confident, but because you have lived your rules so many times that doubt no longer exists, and then comes the test that proves whether your system and your discipline are real. The 30-day simulation. For one full month, you trade as if every click were real money. You journal as if the stakes were life and death. You prepare, execute, and review as if your entire future depended on it. But you risk nothing. Paper, demo, simulated, it does not matter. What matters is your mind. Can you execute your edge flawlessly for 30 days without excuses? Can you honor your stops, your targets, your patience? Can you journal every thought, every trade, every weakness without skipping? Most traders cannot. Most treat simulation as a game. They cheat, they skip, they take risks they would never take with real money. And so they learn nothing. But the trader who treats the test as sacred builds something unshakable. Because when you can simulate with perfect discipline, you prove that the rules are not dependent on money. They are dependent on mindset. And when the time comes to return to real capital, you bring with you 30 days of flawless execution, 30 days of repetition, 30 days of confidence. That is not practice. That is transformation. And at the end of this week, you review not just your trades, but your growth. You look back at the month, The mistakes, the lessons, the progress. You ask, am I more disciplined than I was on day one? Am I more consistent? Have I silenced excuses? Have I built rituals? Have I honored the power of waiting? Have I repeated my rules enough to trust them? This review is not about profit. It is about identity. Who are you becoming? What habits are now permanent? What weaknesses remain to be cut out? This is where Jesse Livermore's deepest wisdom enters. Confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is not pretending to be sure. Confidence is the quiet belief built from discipline lived out daily. Livermore knew that belief without proof is delusion, but belief built from discipline is unstoppable. Every stop you honor, every rule you repeat, every trade you skip when the edge was absent, these are bricks in the fortress of confidence. And when the fortress is built, no loss, no streak, no storm can shake it. Because you no longer believe in luck, you believe in your process. And then, finally, the transformation completes. You look back and realize you are no longer the gambler who chased candles and prayed for miracles. You are no longer the impulsive amateur glued to headlines and rumors. You are a trader. Structured, disciplined, consistent, confident. You wake with ritual. You trade with patience. You exit with clarity. You review with honesty. You sit out with strength. You repeat until it becomes identity. You believe not because you hope, but because you have proof. The new you has emerged, and the old you, the gambler, the drifter, the excuse maker, is gone. This is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of mastery. But mastery is only possible because you have built the foundation, and from this foundation you can rise. The market does not care for excuses. It does not care for reasons, for stories, for justifications. It does not care about your internet cutting out, about your broker freezing, about your dog barking at the wrong moment, about the news surprising you, about the analyst misleading you. The market is the most merciless judge in existence, and it accepts no alibis. Every single tick is final. Every single loss is stamped into reality with no option for appeal. And so, if you are to grow, if you are to transform from gambler into disciplined trader, you must learn the rule that most never dare to accept: there are no excuses. Not a single one. The only truth is ownership. The only path forward is to carry the full weight of your decisions on your own shoulders, and to accept, with brutal honesty, that the outcome of your trades rests not on the world, but on your preparation, your choices, your execution. This is where most fail. They deflect, they blame, they point outward instead of inward, and every time they do, they weaken themselves. Because every excuse is a theft of responsibility, a theft of the chance to learn, a theft of the opportunity to grow. The trader who blames the broker never fixes his entries. The trader who blames the news never tightens his discipline. The trader who blames the market never strengthens his edge. And so they stay trapped, circling in mediocrity, never advancing, never evolving. But the one who says, I chose the trade, I accepted the risk, I failed to execute, it is mine, that trader grows, that trader builds, that trader becomes unstoppable, because every loss becomes a lesson, and every mistake becomes fuel. You must tattoo this law into your mind: excuses are poison, ownership is power. From this day forward, you refuse to justify, you refuse to explain away, you refuse to soften the blow of reality with stories. Instead, you welcome the sting, you embrace the truth, you own it fully, because you understand that to own is to control, and to control is to rise. The trader who owns everything becomes unbreakable, because they see clearly what others hide from themselves, and clarity is the ultimate weapon. But there is another weapon, one so rarely wielded yet so deadly effective, the weapon of patience. Most traders do not fail because they lack knowledge. They fail because they cannot wait. They itch, they fidget, they crave action. They believe that sitting out means losing, when in fact sitting out is often the greatest form of strength. Jesse Livermore himself said that the big money is not in the buying or in the selling, but in the waiting. And yet, how many traders can wait? How many can stare at the screen for hours, see no perfect opportunity and still remain still? Very few. Most chase, most force, most trade boredom, not signals. And in doing so they bleed slowly, death by 1,000 paper cuts. Understand this now: the market is a battlefield. And on a battlefield, the undisciplined soldier charges blindly into every skirmish, wasting ammunition, exhausting strength, dying long before the war is won. But the master waits, he studies the terrain, he watches the enemy's movements, he saves his bullets for the perfect shot. And when that shot appears, he fires once, clean, decisive, and victorious. That is trading. The great traders are not those who trade most often. They are those who wait longest, who hold fire until the edge is clear, who understand that sometimes the best trade is no trade. This is where your evolution must take root. You must learn to love the sit out. You must learn to cherish the silence, the stillness, the empty screen. You must train your mind to see patience not as wasted time, but as capital preserved, as discipline strengthened, as a weapon sharpened. Every day you do not trade recklessly, you build strength. Every day you refuse to chase, you train your will. Every day you wait, you harden yourself into steel. And when the market finally offers you that perfect moment, you strike with precision, with clarity, with power. The trader who cannot wait is doomed. The trader who masters waiting is invincible. But waiting alone is not enough. You must also build confidence. And confidence is not a gift. It is not something handed down by fate or fortune. It is not something you can fake. True confidence is forged through repetition. It is born in the fire of doing the same thing again and again until it becomes part of your very bones. The athlete does not trust his shot because he hopes. It is because he has taken 10,000 shots in practice. The soldier does not trust his aim because he wishes. It is because he has drilled until his hands move without thought. And you, as a trader, will never trust your rules until you have lived them, repeated them, executed them enough times that they cease to be rules on paper and become instincts in flesh. This is why repetition matters. Every day you sit down, you follow your ritual. You define your setup, you mark your level, you plan your entry and exit, you execute without deviation, again and again and again. At first it feels mechanical. At first it feels forced. But slowly, repetition turns to rhythm. Rhythm turns to instinct. Instinct turns to confidence. And confidence turns to freedom. The freedom to sit before the screen without fear. The freedom to act without hesitation. The freedom to know in your soul that your discipline will carry you even when your mind trembles. This is how confidence is built, not in speeches, not in dreams, not in hopes, but in the relentless grind of repetition. And so we come to one of the most powerful exercises of all, the 30-day simulation test. This is your crucible. This is your proving ground. For 30 days you will trade as if real, but without risking a single dollar. You will paper trade, but with absolute seriousness, with complete discipline, with the intensity of one who knows their very survival depends on it. Most scoff at simulation. Most dismiss it as child's play. And that is why most fail. Because they lack the humility to practice, the patience to train, the discipline to rehearse. But you will not fail. You will embrace the 30-day test with fire in your soul, because you understand that greatness is built in practice long before it shows in battle. For 30 days, you will follow your ritual. You will take only your setups. You will record every trade. You will honor every stop. You will ignore excuses. You will sit out when there is nothing. You will live your discipline so fiercely that it brands itself into your very being. And at the end of those 30 days you will look back at the record. You will see the patterns of your strength, the flaws of your weakness, the proof of your edge. You will have built, not just knowledge, but belief. And belief is the core of confidence. Because when you have lived the process 100 times, when you have seen yourself survive, execute, and grow, you no longer need hope. You have proof. And proof is unshakable. This is where we reach Livermore's final gift, the confidence framework. Livermore did not trust in hope. He trusted in discipline. He trusted in patience. He trusted in the knowledge that if he followed his rules, his results would follow in time. Confidence, he knew, is not arrogance. It is not thinking you will always win. It is knowing you will always survive, always adapt, always endure. It is not believing that the next trade must succeed. It is believing that even if it fails, you remain strong. Your process remains intact and your future remains unbroken. That is true confidence, not fragile ego, not desperate hope, but deep, unshakable faith in your discipline. And now, at the end of these 30 days, you must face the final truth. You are no longer the person who began this journey. You are no longer the gambler, the dreamer, the reckless soul chasing fortune with no plan, no edge, no control. You have been broken down, rebuilt, reforged. You have learned to define your setup, to master your entry, to honor your exit. You have silenced the noise, embraced patience, resisted tilt, avoided overtrading. You have built rituals, journals, frameworks. You have repeated until instinct formed. You have simulated until belief hardened. And now you stand at the edge of a new life, a new identity. From gambler to disciplined trader. From chaos to structure. From fragile to unshakable. This is your rebirth. And make no mistake, this is not the end. This is only the beginning. Because consistency is not a destination, it is a practice. Confidence is not a prize, it is a discipline. Every day forward, you must live this truth again. Every morning, you must prepare. Every evening, you must review. Every trade you must own. Every silence you must endure. Every repetition you must embrace. Because that is the path. That is the way. That is the transformation. And when others fall, when they gamble, when they tilt, when they chase, when they excuse, you will stand. You will remain. You will endure. Because you are no longer a victim of chaos. You are no longer prey to your emotions. You are no longer a slave to impulse. You are disciplined. You are structured. You are confident. You are a trader. And the market, vast and merciless as it is, will bow not to your hope, not to your excuses, not to your desperation, but to your discipline, your consistency, your unshakable will. This is the new you. This is the trader reborn, and from this day forward, there is no turning back. The journey of 30 days is not just a calendar on the wall. It is not just numbers on a chart or pages in a book. It is a transformation. It is the slow, deliberate breaking of old habits and the painful birth of new ones. And now, as we stand at the end of this road, it is time to look back, not at the market, but at yourself. Because this was never about charts. This was never about setups or patterns or technical tricks. This was about discipline. This was about the inner war. This was about facing the enemy that has always lived within you. From the very first day, we stripped away the illusions. We took the mask off gambling and showed it for what it really was, a slow suicide. We taught you that trading is not about thrills, not about action, not about quick fortune, but about survival. Week 1 opened your eyes. It forced you to confront your own psychology, your own impulses, your own weakness. You learned that the market is not your opponent. It is the mirror that reflects your own flaws back at you. And the only way to grow is to stop lying to yourself, to see clearly, to rebuild the foundation from within. Then came week 2, the week of risk. And here the lessons cut even deeper. You learned the unbreakable law. Never risk more than 1%. You felt the weight of Livermore's 1-point stop. The ruthless truth that the first loss is always the smallest. You faced the demon of revenge trading, the tilt that destroys so many. You learned that capital preserved is opportunity earned. That without risk management, there is no survival, no longevity, no future. Week 2 was your initiation into the reality of this game, where recklessness dies and discipline is born. Week 3 brought you into the battlefield of strategy and execution. Here you learned that trading without a setup is like going to war without a weapon. You defined your edge. You committed to waiting for your level, never chasing. You built the courage to set exits before entry, to honor stops, to refuse the poison of noise, to pyramid only when you're winning, to understand that fewer trades often mean more victory. You stopped being a scattergun gambler and began shaping yourself into a sniper, a trader of patience, a trader of focus, a trader who executes without chaos. And then week 4, the final forge, the week of consistency and confidence. Here the rituals took over. You began each day with clarity, each night with reflection. You learned the brutal power of the no excuses rule, the strength of sitting out when no edge appears. You built belief through repetition, hammered your process into instinct through practice, sharpened your confidence with the 30-day simulation. You stood on the shoulders of JesseLivermore himself, learning that true confidence does not come from arrogance or hope, but from discipline lived and proven. And finally, you saw the transformation, the new you, the disciplined trader, born from fire. This was the journey. This was the path. And if you followed it, you are not the same person who began. You no longer look at the market with desperation. You no longer chase the thrill of constant action. You no longer see losses as wounds to your ego, but as lessons for your growth. You understand now the deepest truth of all: you don't beat the market, you beat yourself. The market cannot be beaten, because it does not fight you. It does not care. It is endless, infinite, indifferent. The only battle worth fighting is within your own mind, against fear, against greed, against impatience, against excuses. And when you win that battle, when you master yourself, the market opens its doors. Think of the person you were on day 1, anxious, impulsive, hopeful perhaps, but fragile. Think of the mistakes you carried then, the tilt, the chasing, the lack of plan. And now on day 30, think of the person you have become, steady, patient, structured, a trader with a process, a trader with discipline, a trader who knows that the game is survival first, growth second, wealth third. This is no small shift. This is a transformation of identity. And this transformation does not end here. 30 days is not the finish line. 30 days is the foundation. It is the bedrock upon which the rest of your trading life will be built. The rituals you forged, carry them. The rules you embraced, live them. The discipline you learned, protect it. Because consistency is not something you achieve once. It is something you practice every day for the rest of your life. There will be days ahead where you will stumble. There will be trades where you will feel the old impulses rise again. The itch to chase, the urge to revenge trade, the temptation to break your rules. And in those moments, you must return here. You must remember this journey. You must remind yourself that you are no longer the gambler. You are no longer the prey. You are the disciplined trader, the one who can wait, the one who can endure, the one who can survive. This is the essence of Livermore's wisdom, the wisdom that still echoes a century later. The market rewards discipline, and it destroys recklessness. The strong do not outsmart the market. They outlast it. They survive while others implode. And survival, combined with consistency, is the soil from which true confidence grows. And so here we stand at the close of 30 days. A close that is not truly an ending, but a beginning. A beginning of a life where your trades are no longer random, where your losses no longer define you, where your wins are no longer accidents, but the natural result of process. This is the new you. This is the trader Jesse Livermore himself would have respected, not because you will never lose, but because you will never again lose yourself. In 30 days, you haven't just learned rules. You haven't just built rituals. You haven't just stopped losing money. You have begun becoming the trader Jesse Livermore always believed you could be. And now the final call to action is simple. Do not keep this to yourself. Share it, pass it forward, because somewhere out there is another trader, just like you once were. Lost, desperate, chasing ghosts. Be the hand that shows them the way. And if you have not yet subscribed, do it now. Commit yourself fully, because this is not entertainment. This is transformation, and transformation requires commitment. Subscribe, share, and most of all, commit. Commit to the 30-day plan. Commit to yourself. Commit to the path of discipline, because in the end, the market will always test you. But now you have the tools, you have the mindset, you have the discipline, and that is enough. The journey begins again tomorrow, and tomorrow you are ready.